All right, we're all set. Good evening and welcome to this interesting session, Kickstarting Your Career in FP&A Function. So I know a lot of you might have heard about FP&A. Some of you might be new to FP&A. We'll address all your questions. We'll help you understand what goes into FP&A and what are some of the key aspects that are carried out by the FP&A function. So we'll cover a lot of ground. Um, just first of all, I would like to thank you for your trust in this age of overloading of webinars and online programs. You have taken out your valuable 60 to 90 minutes for spending with us today, and I'm sure we'll make it worthy for you, and we'll definitely add a lot of value through this session. So pat yourselves on the back for taking action. An interesting statistic says that less than 3% of the people take active action to develop their careers, which means that it's no wonder that we see 3% of the people are leading the world's organizations. So pat yourselves on the backs for taking some action here. My only request to you would be to stay till the very end. We have a lot of ground to cover. We do have we have kept some time for the Q&A session so that we'll try and address as many questions as you have as possible. So, please stay till the very end and take the benefit of this webinar that Asif and I are bringing together to you. Any opening thoughts, Asif, before we begin?
No, as you mentioned, there might be a lot of questions and a lot of, a lot of different people from different backgrounds have joined here today. So hold on for the first maybe 20 minutes, and then we will let you guys ask questions, and we can take those questions as well as we go along.
Fantastic. Yeah, so just be a little patient with us. I know you might have a lot of questions around FP&A. We'll try and address as many of them as possible. We have got a structure in place where we'll help you understand what goes into FP&A and what are some of the key activities carried out by FP&A teams. So just stay with us here, and I'm sure you will find this valuable. Fantastic. Just a quick poll. Asif, are we ready with the poll?
Yeah, before we start, we just wanted to know where are you guys from? What is your background? So we'll do a quick 30-second poll, a couple of them. And the first one is coming up on your screen. So the first one says, what are you doing right now? So which profile are you working in right now? So let me just launch that poll. Okay, so we'll give it another 5 seconds and then I'll share the results. 3, 2, 1, and let me end the poll. Okay, so let me share results. Where are people coming from? Do you see the results right now, Dhaval, on the screen?
Yes, I can see it now. Yeah.
Okay. So 45% people are from either audit, accounting, or tax profile or tax background, which are traditional finance roles. 20% people are already working in FP&A, which is great. 19% people are from other finance profile. And then there are a few students and few people looking for opportunities as well. So that's a mix of the audience. So I think majority of them are not in FP&A. So we will keep it that way. We'll keep it very basic, and we'll keep keep that in mind. Any thoughts on this, Dhaval?
No, as expected, I think this is a Kickstarter program. So basically for beginners, don't worry, even if you have absolutely no idea of what FP&A is, I'm sure you will walk away with a lot of insights after this training program.
Okay. The next and the final one, let me open that one. Back. Okay. Now this is for rating yourself on FP&A skills. So not necessarily you need to work in FP&A, But even if you're not working in FP&A, you know some specific, I mean, some basic skills that are required for this role, and you can probably rate yourself on this, whatever you feel is right now. I know this may not be very specific, but just a broad understanding will help us conduct this session. Let me launch this one. So what it says is, how would you rate yourself on FP&A skills? Now I know some people may not know what FP&A skills are, so just think about FP&A as a profile in that case. So if you are working already in FP&A, it will be somewhere around 7, 8, 9, 10. And if you are probably never heard about FP&A, no, have never worked in FP&A, it will be probably below 3, 4, 5. Okay, we'll give it another 3 seconds and then close it. Okay, let me end the poll and share the results. Okay, so 40% and more are having less FP&A experience, and then there are a few people, I think 8 people among the 60 of us who have 5+ years of FP&A experience. So that is a mix of the audience. Let's move on to the session.
Fantastic, fantastic. So before we begin, quick roadmap of today's session. So what we'll be covering. So we'll first try and understand what is FP&A, what are some of the basic activities carried out in FP&A, some of the key traits required to be a successful FP&A professional. So while there could be dozens of traits, we'll touch upon 4 core skills that are important for you to be successful at FP&A. We'll also look at how does a typical FP&A month look. What are some of the activities carried out in week 1, 2, 3, 4? And we'll see what are some of the challenges associated with those activities as well. Just give me a second. Yeah.
So I know
Okay,
I see some raised hands right now. So we will pause it in between. So we'll maybe cover 20 minutes and then pause after 20 minutes and take questions. So what I would suggest is put your questions in the chat box and we'll take it whenever we get a chance in between.
fantastic. After understanding the typical month, we'll move to understand FP&A career framework. So if you are specifically new to FP&A, then how do you take those specific steps to build your FP&A career? That is what we'll be covering in the FP&A framework. And of course, after that, we'll have a Q&A session where we'll take up your specific questions that you may have. Okay, a little bit about us. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I have about 15 years of industry experience across various sectors like oil and gas, software, advertising, and PR. And I've also worked with a global shared services center of a commodity trading company, one of the largest in the world. So I have diverse set of experience across various industries. I consider myself a sincere student of personal development. I always keep investing in training programs and coaching programs to upskill myself. I've mentored, probably thousands of chartered accountants and finance professionals now through my initiative called #Saturday Mentoring, where on LinkedIn I started, posting content and also reserve my time on Saturdays to speak to finance professionals to address their specific career challenges. I have also been an active online instructor over the last 4 years, and I've trained more than 5,000 professionals in various topics like leadership, FP&A, finance career growth, and many others. Yeah, over to you, Asif.
I'll quickly introduce myself. So I am also a chartered accountant from India. I have, this is old slide, but right now it's, I think, 13, 14 years of experience in finance and FP&A across banking, pharma, and edtech industries. So me and Dhaval, we came together 1.5 years back. That's why it says 12+ years. So this is 2 years old. And in the last 2 years, we have worked extensively on training FP&A as a subject. I have also written a book on FP&A, which is there on the screen, which is all about FP&A, which is for beginners in FP&A or people who have no idea about what FP&A is. And presently, I lead the FP&A team at at Coursera for Asia Pacific region, and I regularly contribute to I regularly contribute a lot of articles to industry magazines, FP&A trends. I also have a blog on LinkedIn as well. So that's a bit about myself. And what I wanted to highlight is we've been working very actively in the FP&A education space for the last couple of years, me and Dhaval together.
Fantastic. Moving forward. So why is FP&A so important in today's world? Now, there could be multiple reasons, but as most of you know, that we have now moved from being just record keepers to real analysts, right? So back, if you go back 20, 25 years, largely accountants and finance professionals were record keepers. Not much of analysis was coming from these professionals, and all their task was to make sure that the books of accounts are being maintained properly. But today, a lot of things is expected of finance professionals. They are always expected to be giving insights and analyze data and give insights at regular intervals so that the business can take prudent financial decisions. So let us understand why FP&A is so important. Now, if you look at a typical CFO's office, yeah, so there are multiple functions reporting into the CFO, right? Or multiple departments that could be reporting into the CFO. It could be financial reporting, taxes, M&A, treasury, supply chain finance, and FP&A is one of them. Now, each of these roles or departments have specific duty, specific role to execute, right? For example, financial reporting manager or whoever is handling financial reporting is responsible for preparation of P&L or income statement and balance sheet, getting the statutory audit done, making sure all the internal audit and internal controls are in place. All of that is carried out by financial reporting team. Similarly, tax team may have a role of its own where they are required to take care of direct and indirect taxes, your income tax, your GST, your VAT, depending on the geography that you are based in. You're required to file all the tax returns on time, make sure that the transfer pricing arrangements and agreements are in place. So tax team has a certain role to play. Similarly, treasury team is concerned with banking relationships, making sure that the business is adequately funded, we are collecting the money on time, we are paying the vendors on time. All that is ensured by the treasury team. Mergers and acquisitions could be handling the inorganic growth strategy for the company, where you are actually identifying targets for acquiring or coming up with joint ventures for the company so that you can build a healthy inorganic growth strategy as well. Now, similarly, each of these roles have their own set of activities that they carry out on a daily basis. But amongst all this chaos, amongst all these busy set of activities, who is that person who's keeping an eye on the performance of the business? Who is that person who's going to tell the business, who is going to tell the management that the business is being run in a healthy and a profitable way? That is where FP&A comes into play. The main role of FP&A is to provide timely and accurate insights to the CFO and other senior business leaders in the company so that they can take prudent financial decisions. Let me repeat that. The main role of FP&A team is to provide timely and accurate insights to the CFO and to the senior business leaders so that they can take informed and prudent financial decisions. Somebody needs to monitor the performance of the business, and that is where FP&A team comes into play. And FP&A team enjoys this unique position of sitting very close to the CFO and very close to the business leaders. Because what is expected in a company these days is to have a single source of truth. By that, I mean, a single source of truth is where you need one person who is the custodian of all the numbers. A sales guy will come and ask the numbers to this person. A finance guy will ask, or an accountant guy will ask the numbers to this person. The CFO would ask the numbers to this person. So somebody needs to be the custodian of the performance of the business. That is where FP&A role comes into play, and it enjoys this unique position of sitting very close to the CFO's team. Okay, just give me a second. Yeah. So where does FP&A fit in? Now, if you look at a large company, typically a large company or a large business house, you can classify finance and accounting roles into three broad buckets. Yeah, there are multiple finance and accounting roles out there. There are dozens of varieties of finance and accounting roles out there, but largely you can classify them into these three groups. First is financial reporting and compliance focused. The other one is business finance or finance business partner or FP&A or commercial manager, whatever you want to call it. Then there are certain specialty finance functions which do not necessarily fit into group 1 and group 2. Yeah. So financial reporting set of roles are always concerned with ensuring the compliance is in place, that accounting, compliances, reporting, taxes. And their main duty is preparation of financial statements, notes to accounts, getting the statutory and internal audit done, filing all the statutory compliances, making sure the tax returns are filed, regulatory reporting. That means any specific reporting, like for example, a banking company is required to adhere to the central bank restrictions. And an insurance company is required to adhere to certain restrictions by a central insurance authority. Yeah, those kind of regulatory reportings are also carried out by this particular group of people. Now, most of us, if we are coming from a traditional accounting qualification, like a graduation in accounting or a chartered accountancy or a CMA or a CPA or an ACCA or whatever that base accounting qualification might be, we have seen the activities around this. We might have seen how an audit happens. We might have seen financial statements, notes to accounts, filing of returns. We have seen this particular bucket, and we are fairly familiar with this particular group of activities. As opposed to that, the second group of activities is largely focused on management reporting, supporting the commercial side of the business, commercial aspects of the business. And some of the key activities in this group could be budgeting, that is preparation of the annual budgets just before the start of the financial year, forecasting, yeah, that is to understand where the company is trending compared to the budget or compared to the target that you have set at the start of the financial year. So you keep checking forecasts at regular intervals on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, depending on the structure of your company. Various types of analysis, revenue, cost, margins, different types of profitability analysis, customer level profitability, branch level profitability, region level profitability. Again, depending on how your company is structured, you carry out all these different kind of analysis and produce management commentaries so that the management can take certain informed decisions. Monitor working capital management, make sure that your receivables and payables are happening on time, you are adequately funded in your company. CapEx projects, multiple CapEx projects, that is your capital expenditure projects, where if you are undertaking any large capital expenditure project, like let's say setting up a new office or opening a new plant, you need to make sure that these are carried out in a financially feasible way, right? Contracts, many times finance teams may act as a bridge between the business team and the legal team to ensure that the client contracts and the vendor contracts are reviewed and signed on a timely basis. Recharges, many common costs could be incurred at the central level, at the headquarter level, or at the group company level, and then they might be recharged or allocated to multiple business units or other group companies, depending on how the structure is. Now, these set of activities are fairly, I would say, experiential. These are not all of them are actually taught to us in our accounting qualifications. That's why you need to rely on your experience or training and coaching by experienced professionals so that they can train you in all of these set of activities. And then the third function is the specialty finance function, or which I call expert tasks, which are simply all those activities which do not necessarily fit into bucket 1 and bucket 2. Some of the expert tasks could be something like treasury, or if it's a complex treasury, so a complex entity where treasury plays a lot of role in arranging in maintaining all the banking relationships, forex management, like if your company is dealing with a lot of foreign currencies, then you need to have a sophisticated hedging mechanism to ensure that you have minimal forex losses. Mergers and acquisitions, we've already spoken. Fundraising, investment management, that is your managing your surplus funds in the company. Structured finance, again, an interesting field where you look at the overall group structure and the legal entity structure and ensure that it is tax efficient, by making some changes in where the tax is based and in which geography the tax is based, the company is based. Yeah. Strategy, again, at various intervals, you would be supporting the strategy team with financial decisions to ensure that whatever they are coming up with is financially viable. Project finance, again, from project to project. Many companies operate from project to project, like an interior design firm, an architecture firm, a construction company. All of them operate from project to project. You need to make sure that all the finances for that particular project are handled in an efficient way. Some of them could be technology profiles, like you could be an SAP functional consultant, or you could be a BI implementation consultant. Yeah. Sometimes you could be a functional consultant. Now, what's a functional consultant? Functional content consultant is somebody who has domain knowledge of finance, but he kind of acts as a bridge between the business teams and the coding team or the software development team, where you will then support the team to come up with certain reports and dashboards, or try and automate a few things. That is where the kind of technology profiles come into play. If you're somebody who's tech savvy and you're looking for a techno commercial kind of a role, then probably these kind of roles are for you. Now, no matter what kind of a company you go into, small, medium, large, you will find some or the other variation of all these three groups. Yeah. There could be dozens and dozens of finance and accounting roles out there, but you can largely group them into three broad buckets: compliance focused, commercial focused, and then some subject matter expert tasks. Yeah. Now, what happens is that if you are working for a large company, then you could have a very specific role. Like, for example, you are looking at revenue analysis. Yeah. Or you could be looking at customer profitability, or you could be looking at forecasting or FP&A activities related to the southern region. It could be FP&A manager south. Yeah. So it could be very, very specific if it's a very large company. But if it's a small and medium sized company, then these roles could be pretty blended. You are the one who's preparing financial statements and notes to accounts, and you are the one who's also preparing the budgeting and forecasting for that company. Yeah. So there could be a lot of overlap in these activities if you are specifically from a small to mid-sized organization. But larger the organization, remember, more specific it is going to get, more specific role you will get. You may not have full visibility of the P&L as well. You may not have full visibility of the budget. You may not be working on all the components of the budget. Instead, you might be working only on a very small part of preparing the budget or during the budgeting exercise. Yeah. So depending on the kind of company and the complexity around it, make sure that you are aware of where you fit into the organization and what are the kind of activities that you are carrying out. So now that we understand where does FP&A fit in and what is the importance, why is it so important, and how it enables senior management to take certain decisions, we'll now try and understand what is FP&A a little bit more in depth. To simplify this definition as to what is FP&A, I have tried to split this phrase financial planning and analysis into two aspects. One is financial planning, and the other one is financial analysis. Now, financial planning is all about the future-looking activities of FP&A. That is, you're preparing your annual business plan, preparing your budgets for the upcoming financial year, tracking rolling forecasts. All of these are future-looking function of financial planning and analysis. Then financial analysis is all about analyzing the ongoing performance of the business, where you will look at your monthly performance, your monthly closing, then you compare things with the budget, understand the variances, do a variance analysis, produce management commentaries to understand why there has been a variance between actual versus budget, actual versus forecast, or current year versus previous year, current month versus previous month. All of those kind of analysis you do, and then give out reports to the management to take certain informed decisions. Similarly, you could be doing certain feasibility studies. Tomorrow, let's say if my company wants to open a branch in Mumbai, is that even feasible? Yeah. What do we need to take care of? How do we evaluate this exercise? Yeah. All of that is taken care of by the FP&A teams in the financial analysis aspects. So simple: financial planning, future-looking activities; financial analysis, analyzing ongoing performance of the business. Asif?
So we looked at financial planning and analysis as two parts, right? Financial planning and financial analysis. Now, if I have to put it in a very simple one sentence, if I have to say what FP&A is in one sentence, I would use this. And again, this is from my book. So FP&A is a bridge, or it acts as a bridge between business teams, which you see on the left on the screen, and the senior management on the right. Now, how they act as a bridge. So in whatever functions that they perform, so we looked at budget, forecast, management reports, variance analysis, all of those activities in the previous slide. So in any of these activities, they act as a bridge between the different business teams and the senior management. Basically, let's take an example of a budget. Okay, so if FP&A team is working on a budget, they will collect all the information, inputs, uh, and comments from the business teams. They will work on it, they will consolidate it, they will make sure it's in a way that is easily understood by the senior management and then present it to the senior management. So that is one example. Same thing goes for the forecast. So they will collect all the information inputs from different business teams and then refine it, review it with the CFO, and then finally present it to senior management. Be it variance analysis, so if they're figuring out any deviations between actuals and budget or actuals and forecast, they will reach out to different business teams, collect all the information, collect all the comments, and then refine it, make sure that only the key messages and the things that are required to be uh, seen by the senior manager in terms of their attention is required, they will only present those items to senior management, because senior management has limited time, limited bandwidth. They cannot look at each and everything. So it's a FP&A team which decides, okay, which are the most important areas which need to be presented to senior management. So in simple words, or in one sentence, if you have to describe FP&A, it is a bridge between the business teams and senior management.
Fantastic. So now that we know that FP&A is a bridge between the management and the business teams, what are some of the key activities that are carried out by FP&A professionals? Now, there could be dozens of activities, and we'll look at some of the activities when we reach the calendar when we discuss the calendar. But broadly, I would say there are four key activities that are carried out by FP&A professionals. One is budgeting, forecasting, and under management commentaries, you have variance analysis and profitability analysis. Now, let's try and briefly touch upon each of these. Now, budgeting is where you are actually preparing your budget or your annual financial plan for the upcoming financial year. Like, for example, now we are in October. All those companies who are following a calendar financial year have already started preparing their budgets for 2024. Okay, and even in my company right now, so we have recently submitted the budget version for 2024, which is basically nothing but an estimated P&L for the upcoming financial year, which has estimated revenue, estimated costs, and what would be the profit. That is the budgeting exercise. It does consume a lot of energy. It does involve a lot of coordination with multiple business teams to come up and put together a budget. Typically, FP&A teams spend about more than 6 to 8 weeks in the last or during the end of the financial year to put together a budget for the upcoming financial year. Now, a forecast as opposed to a budget is not a one-time exercise. Budget is a one-time exercise carried carried just before the start of the financial year. Forecasting, on the other hand, is largely to monitor the performance of the company on a regular intervals. Some companies would like to do a monthly forecast. For example, in the same exercise, let's say if we have prepared our budgets for 2024, and if we are at the end of January 2024, then January actuals, which will be 1 month actuals, plus 11-month estimates, that will be my January forecast. Okay. Some companies would like to prepare a quarterly forecast. Now, let's say if we are at the end of March 2024, so we have 3 months of actuals plus 9 months of estimates, which is a quarterly forecast, or we call it a Q1 forecast, right? So Q1, that is 1 quarter of actuals and 3 quarters of forecast. Yeah. So budgeting is a one-time activity carried out at the start of the financial year or just before the start of the financial year, whereas forecasting is usually an activity carried out on a monthly or a quarterly basis, depending on how your company is structured and what are the complexities around the reporting in your company. Okay. Now, management commentaries is something which is produced at a regular intervals. It could be on a monthly basis, it could be on a quarterly basis, where you're actually doing a lot of comparisons between actual versus budget, actual versus forecast, current month versus previous month, current year versus last year, current year same month versus current year last month. All of these kind of different types of analysis is what you are doing, and you're coming up with a report which explains why there is a variance. If our sales have gone up, then why have they gone up? If our sales have gone down, why have they gone down? What are some of the business reasons behind sales going up or down? And you liaise with the business teams and come up with these different variances. Yeah. And then put them in your commentaries, capture them in your commentaries. Now, profitability analysis is again something not done in isolation, but it is part of management reporting. Like, for example, if you are the CFO of a large company which has multiple business units, yeah, let's say if you're CFO of Amazon, for example, yeah, you would like to understand how much is AWS contributing to the profits, how much is Amazon Prime contributing to the profits, how much is the e-commerce business contributing to the profits. So you would always like to dissect and see where the profit is coming from and how you can improve the efficiency, how you can contribute more to the profits, or which business unit is contributing higher or lower, and why is it so. Yeah? So that is where profitability analysis. If I am the CFO of a large company which has multiple business units or regions or branches or anything like that. Now think about a bank, for example. A typical bank might be structured branch wise or multiple region wise. Yeah. And if I'm the FP&A head of southern region, I would like to see branch wise profitability of all the branches in the south. Yeah. So that is how profitability analysis comes into play, and it's part of your management commentary. It's not done something in isolation. It's always part of your management commentary, and you produce these management commentaries which are about the performance of the business, and then you submit it to the senior management for taking certain decisions. Now, no matter what size of the company you go into, small, medium, large, you will find some or the other variation of these 4 activities. Yeah. These 4 are like the absolute constant, I would say, in any company that you go. Then there could be some allied activities that you could be doing around FP&A, but these are some of the core 4 activities that are absolutely important and which are carried out by FP&A teams. Moving forward, what are some of the key traits of a successful FP&A professional? What are some of the key qualities? Now, there could be dozens of qualities, or there could be hundreds of qualities that people expect. Yeah. But these 4 are, I would say, something which absolutely cannot be compromised. Yeah. Which are those 4 core skills? So let's look at them one by one. The first one is business acumen. What I did was I conducted a survey among CFOs, and almost 50 CFOs participated in that survey. And I asked them, what do you think is the most important element that is lacking in the finance professionals today? Or what do you think is the most important element where you see a lot of hard work needs to be done by the companies when we hire finance professionals? And interestingly, I was expecting communication skills to be on the top, because we are also number friendly and not really communication friendly professionals. But interestingly, the result came out that finance professionals lack business acumen or business understanding. Yeah. Now, a business acumen is where you think like a businessman and you put yourselves in the businessman's shoes and then act accordingly as to, okay, if you were owning this business or if you were running this business, what do you need to do? Yeah. I'll give you another example. So we were once pitching for a client, and that client was a very prestigious client. It was Facebook. And when we were bidding for this work that they had come out with, and there were many competitors, and we were bidding along with many international companies for this particular work. And when I worked out the pricing for this particular project, and it came out to be like a 5% profitability. Typically, we were earning anywhere between 15 to 20% client profitability with all other clients. But this particular client pricing came out only to be 5%. So I went back to the business side and said that, hey, boss, I don't think so we should take on this work, because 5% profit is not that great, as opposed to that on other clients, we're making 15 to 20% profit. So you know what the business side told me? That, Dhaval, you're a numbers guy and you credit to what you have earned, what you have gained in your career. But do you know that if we get Facebook as a client on our list, on our client list, do you know how many doors it will open with other tech companies? Do you know how prestigious this client is in the market? And if we execute this task for Facebook, then all other next in line tech companies could be coming our way, and we'll more than compensate for this 5% smaller margin that you're talking about. And this kind of gave me a realization that there could be many more things attached to the attached to a certain scenario than just numbers, than pure numbers. Now this is the kind of thinking where what is expected from you. So when people come to you, you give them solutions. You just don't say no, or this is not in the rule book, or it's not possible. You give them solutions in a way which is agreeable to everybody in the organization. Analytical skills. Again, the second most important skill would be analytical skills. Now, analytical skills is your ability to correlate numbers, one set of numbers with the other set of numbers. Now, let me give you an example. If I tell you that a marketing budget of a company is $5 million, okay, what will you interpret out of this? In isolation, this number doesn't tell you anything. That 5 million is high, low, more, less, whatever. Yeah, you won't come to know anything about this $5 million. As opposed to that, if I give you some more information by saying that $5 million, which is the marketing budget of this company, is actually 5% of its sales. Yeah, we have now some more information. Okay, for every $100 of sales, the company spends $5 in marketing. I'll give you some more information. Last year, this percentage of marketing spend was 3%. Now you have a discussion. Now you say, okay, the marketing spend has gone from 3% of sales to 5% of sales, which means there is an increase of 2% in marketing. And the sales has also gone up, which means the absolute amount of marketing spend has also gone up. Now, what is the reason behind this? Are we looking at new marketing channels? Are we intensifying our marketing? Okay, is there a strategic plan behind why we are investing more in marketing? Now, these kind of questions will start populating in your mind. Now, this is how you need to analyze. Don't accept the number at face value. Don't accept the number in isolation. Always try and compare it with other numbers in the metric, other numbers in the set, current month versus previous month, current year versus previous year, versus budget versus forecast, versus competitors' numbers of the same category. All of these kind of comparisons, when you do, that is where you will be able to actually do some meaningful analysis and come up with certain insights for your audience. Yeah. The next important skill is building cross-functional relationships. Yeah, it's absolutely important to build various cross-functional relationships, because as an FP&A professional, you will never work in isolation. You will always be dependent on other functions for providing you the data, and you need to provide a lot of insights and reports and commentaries to other cross-functional teams as well, right? And cross-functional relationships, will always help you collect that data on a timely basis or defend an unreasonable deadline. Many times, as a finance leader, it has happened that somebody from the business team writes an email to my staff saying that I need this report urgently in the next 2 hours. Then I pick up the call and say that, hey boss, how urgent is this? My team is busy with a certain audit that is going on. Is it okay if we send this report to you by tomorrow end of day? Tell me what do you need. Tell me what is urgent. Maybe I know something. I can tell you that information. So this is how I can defend unreasonable deadlines which are asked by cross-functional teams. Yeah? And that also helps me cement a good relationship with my team members. Yeah? So this way, it's always important that you build relationships with other cross-functional teams where especially you are dependent on them for a certain set of data. You need to have stronger relationships to get that data from them in a very transparent and efficient way. Otherwise, they will keep otherwise they might take you for granted, and they may not actually get you that data or give you that data or information that is expected from them. Yeah, cool, fantastic. The fourth skill is IT and data literacy. Yeah, so IT and data literacy is something. IT is where all of every company is now today using some or the other kind of tech tool. Now, it could be just Excel, or it could be sometimes Power BI, Tableau, or any of the sophisticated FP&A tools that are available in the market. Yeah? As soon as you enter a company and understand what tool they are using, you will have to work hard to get a grip over that tool as soon as possible. Yeah? That will then help you become an efficient FP&A professional. Yeah? Concepts you might be knowing, FP&A concepts you might know. but you'll have to then spend some time to pick up the tool so that it will make you fast and efficient to retrieve that data, to do that analysis and come up with certain meaningful insights. Data literacy is all about understanding basic set of data relationships, mean, median, mode, averages, standard deviation, observing the patterns, understanding the outliers or exceptions. All of this kind of analysis of data you will need to understand, correlation, regression, these kind of information you need to read up and build some basic data literacy, because especially if you're handling large sets of data, large chunks of data, then all of these will be very important for you to use in your FP&A role. Asif, you want to touch upon any of the skills or anything that you have, anything you want to add on to this, the skill section?
Yeah, I think there's one question on business acumen, so we can maybe elaborate on that. So there's a question, can you elaborate more on business acumen? So see, business acumen is something that will come to you with experience, especially if you're new to any business. So your objective of getting in, I mean, after getting into any finance role or FP&A role should be to thoroughly understand the business. And you can do that in several ways. I mean, some of the ways what we can think of is participate in trade I mean shows that happen for that business, read up on industry magazines, spend a day or two in the field with people who are doing the business, especially sales teams, marketing teams, and they'll be more than happy to show you what they do. So it typically comes with experience and more time you spend in that company or industry, especially if you're working in one particular industry for a long time. You will definitely build up this business acumen. So it's not something that you can overnight get to. It's something that takes time, and also you need that mindset of a businessman. So you should think like a businessman. Consider that, okay, if what would I do if this was my business? What if would I do if this was my money I was investing in this project? I think that mindset will help you build business acumen over time. Anything you want
Yeah,
to add? I think this is a
yeah,
question for the business
yeah,
acumen.
yeah. No, I think you've covered all the points. One other thing which is very easy and straightforward, which I have always followed, is that the moment I join any new company or any new industry, I start immediately following the top 5 competitors on LinkedIn. Who are my competitors on LinkedIn, and keep tracking their activity. So this also not only helps us keep a check on what's happening in the industry, it also helps us build that connect with the business teams. Because tomorrow when I'm meeting a business team and say that, hey, you do know that our competitor came up with that particular strategy, how do you think we are responding to that in the market? It helps me kind of also build that connect with the cross-functional teams as well. So read up industry magazines. That's important. That's an important point that Asif brought up. Because you need to be integrated in that industry, not just the numbers. And every industry comes with its own set of unique challenges, unique terminologies, unique environment that it operates in, and you need to be well aware of all those kind of things for you to be giving solutions when people reach out to you.
Yeah, one of the easiest way to do this is to know the products and services of your company in and out. So if there are like 100 products or maybe 20 services that your business offers, you should know each of them well enough. I mean, what happens in, I mean, what goes into that product, what's the cost, what's the revenue, what's the profit margin for each of the products, for each of the services. I think that's a basic thing that you can start with, and then you can build up on other areas like studying the competition, understanding what your business strategy, your company's business strategy is, and then add upon your business acumen. Okay, so I think we can move on to the next section.
Fantastic. Cool. So, typical month for an FP&A professional, Asif?
Yes. So this is not just based on my experience, but a survey which I did asking about 50 plus FP&A professionals on how their FP&A calendar looks like. So, few things that I wanted to share before we go into this, that it's going to look different for different industries, for different companies. It'll depend on what stage your finance or FP&A team is. If your FP&A team is just starting, or if it's a new FP&A team, it'll be completely different versus if you have a FP&A team which has been functioning for say 10 years. So it'll be very different from different industries, different maturities, different companies. But this is what a average looks like. And again, before we get into the details, it's divided into four sections, which is basically 4 weeks. So week one, week two, week three, week four. This excludes the annual budgeting process, so which is a separate process, which is a separate 2 month or for most companies it's 6 to 8 weeks. For smaller companies, it might be just 2 weeks, but it excludes that annual operating or plan or the budget cycle. So that is one. And think about week one as if you're closing the month of, say, right now it's end of October, so think about week one as first week of November, where you are looking at numbers for October. So week one year would be the first week of November, say first day of November to seventh day of November, where you are talking about entire month of October. All right. So with that background, let's look at week one. So week one typically consists of month-end closing activities, which typically FP&A people help and support the finance and accounts team. So usually the closing and accounting reviews are done by the controller team. In bigger companies, they call it controller team. In some companies, they call it accounting team. So they typically are responsible for month-end close and accounting. But FP&A is one of the key stakeholders in supporting that process. So they help and support the month-end close process. Till the time the month-end numbers are ready, or till the time you have the October numbers in this case, in this example, you do a flash report or you do a flash reporting where you share some estimate of October, even if you don't have the final numbers yet because the accounting books are not closed. So you will provide some estimate to senior management. Okay, although we don't have the final accounting numbers, but this is what we think October will look like. Now, this can be as simple as having 25 days of data in terms of accounting and then estimating the remaining 6 days for October. So you have data for say 1st October to 26th October on the first day of November, and you just do some estimate or you do some forecast for the remaining 6 days. Not a forecast, it's typically happened, so it's not forecast, but you do some calculations for the remaining 6 days for which you do not have accurate data. So that's called a flash report. That happens until the time your actual numbers are ready. Now, once the actual numbers are ready, you send out all your regular monthly and quarterly reports. So there might be some month-end reports that you might be doing for different business teams. It might be sales report, it might be headcount report. So there might be different types of report based on the requirements of your business, on the requirements of your business teams. And once the accounting books are closed, you will typically have all the information that you need to prepare those reports. And also, along with the reports, will be comments, which we call it as variance analysis or BVA commentaries, which you will provide along with those reports. So it will not be just reports or just numbers, but along with some comments, some insights that you might have picked up while preparing those reports. So this is typically how an average week one looks like for FP&A teams. Now moving on to week two. So once you're done with the accounting close and month-end reports, week two is typically where you revisit your forecast. Now, forecast is not something that you do once in a while like budget. So this is something that you revisit every quarter. Sometimes some companies do it every month. So in this case, let's assume that the company is doing a monthly forecast. So they're revisiting their forecast every month. So what you will do, what typically you happens in week two is you go to your previous forecast, the forecast that you had done in last month, say week two of October for September month end, which was just 1 month before, and you revisit any assumptions that might have changed during the last 1 month, and you update those assumptions. Based on those updates, your forecast for the remaining period or remaining months, in this case it's November and December, will change slightly based on those assumptions change. So you update the forecast, meaning you create another version of the forecast. So if your previous version of forecast was, say, in FP&A we call it, so September actuals and 3 months of forecast. So it's 9 plus 3. So this time you will be having 10 plus 2, which is October year to date actuals and November and December forecast. So you will update the version of the forecast, and then once you update it, you review it with your business teams. So if you're doing a sales forecast, you will review it with somebody in sales. If you're doing a marketing forecast, you will review it with somebody in the marketing team. So second step is to review it with the different business teams. Once you are done with the business team for review, they'll give you some inputs. They'll tell you, okay, this is not that is supposed to happen, you should change this. They'll give you some inputs to make changes. Based on all those inputs, you will again come up with a revised version of the forecast. So first step is you do it yourself based on the assumptions that you have seen change in the last 1 month. Second step is you get it reviewed with the business team, collect their inputs. And third step is you get it reviewed from somebody senior in finance, typically FP&A lead or CFO. So once these two reviews are done, then you can freeze that version of the forecast. So in this case, we'll freeze the October forecast and load it in system for comparisons and for commentaries when actuals of October, sorry, when actuals of the next month come in. So you can basically compare what your November December forecast you did right now versus what actuals will come, say, 1 month from now or 2 months from now. So typically week two is mostly forecasting. Week three is slightly lighter compared to week one and week two, because week one and week two is very hectic usually for FP&A teams, and they're always behind either reporting or forecasting. So three is slightly less structured in terms of there is not a lot of planned activities. So any other activities that may not be done during week one, week two because of time constraints or because they are not very urgent, all those activities can be done in week three. Some companies do recharges and allocations, working capital management if there is no separate treasury team. Uh, a lot of FP&A teams work on cross-functional special projects during this time, which is slightly less busy. Supporting the business, so you do support the business throughout the month, but this is the time where you can have more meetings, more interaction with the business. Automation is another thing which people work on week three, so that next cycle when you come to week one and week two, it's faster, better, because you worked or you made the process slightly automated, slightly better than it was last time. Risk and opportunities is another thing that you need to take care of. So once you are done with the forecast, it's not done. I mean, it's already it's you've created one version of the forecast, but that doesn't mean that you stop looking for any risks or opportunities to those numbers. So if you come across any major, I mean major as in material risk to your forecast that you had submitted last week, you should raise it up in a separate report, which is called a risk and opportunities report. And this will be very material items. It will not be smaller changes, but just in case if there is anything materially changing from your previous forecast, and you feel okay, this is something that the senior management should know before the next month end report, which will happen 2 weeks from now, which you can highlight it in the risk and opportunities. So this is typically week three, less structured and more of ad hoc activities, more of activities that we could not do in week one and week two. And week four again, it'll be preparation for week one. So for next month, preparation for week one. So you typically start your flash report that you saw in week one end of last month. So you will start it somewhere around business day -3, -4, last week of the month. Again, revenue close is supporting the accounting team with accruals, prepaid, etc. And you continue monitoring the risk and opportunities until you see the actual numbers. So this is typically what an average FP&A month looks like for many companies. Now, if if the FP&A team is very new, or if the FP&A team hasn't set up all the required processes, your month-end reporting could happen instead of week one, it can happen in week two, week three, week four. But ideally, they would strive to be in a situation within a month, sorry, within 6 months or within a year, to get to a point where you become as efficient as possible and you complete all the reportings as early as possible, so that you have time for more value added activities like forecasting, supporting the business, helping in cross functional projects. So this is typically what a FP&A calendar looks like.
Cool. So after understanding the FP&A calendar, so we now move towards a quick framework that is which I call the FP&A success mantra. And this framework is specifically important if you are new to FP&A role, or if you are taking over an FP&A role in a new company. Then you need to focus on understanding three things. That is your org structure, your stakeholders, and your KPIs. That is your org structure and where you fit into the organization structure, and stakeholders and KPIs. Okay, so let's touch upon each of these a little bit one by one. Yeah. Sorry, just give me a second. Let me just quickly get my charger. Asif, will you cover this section? Let me just quickly get my
Yeah.
charger.
So in the meanwhile, let's look at this slide, which is different types of FP&A roles. So typically you have different types of FP&A roles in terms of the size of the company. So on the left hand side, you see what happens in very big companies, in multinationals, where it is billions of dollars of revenues and 10,000 plus people in the company. So there you are working in a very specific niche area. So either you might be working on revenue for a particular product, or you might be working just on expense, one particular expense line, or you might be just looking at one particular geography, in some cases one particular country, in some cases one particular region. So it could be either horizontal or vertical, where you look at for products or a country or a geography, or the entire revenue line or the entire expense line. And then there are consolidation roles. So uh, there are specific revenue and geography regional roles, and then there is somebody in the corporate FP&A team which makes sure that all the different products and all the different regions and geographies are consolidated, and they provide the full view of the company to the CF, to the senior management. So in bigger companies, you have specific roles. I mean, it can be revenue roles, expense roles, it can be the entire P&L for a specific geography or a specific product. And then there are consolidation roles, which is consolidating all the different revenues, expenses, geographies in the company and presenting one final picture. Second type of role is the red one here, which is center of excellence, where the company has set up or centralized its finance function in one particular location. Typically, this is a low cost location. Let's take an example. Okay, the company is situated in the United States, and they require about 100 people in the finance team. So typically, in the especially during the last 5 to 10 years, what has happened is they'll not hire all 100 people in the US because it is expensive. They'll have probably 10-15 people in the US which will be business facing, and then they will hire the majority of the finance team, which is the supporting team, in a low cost location. This can be India, this can be Philippines, Mexico. There are different low cost locations that companies identify, and make sure that some percentage of the team is business facing, which is in the same location as their business, and then some portion of the team is offshore, so that they can balance the cost of the finance function. So this is what the center of excellence is, which is the offshore part of FP&A. Now the third part is project specific roles. So this is typically seen in service companies, IT companies, so where FP&A teams work on a particular client, on a particular project, especially IT companies, construction companies. So you would be working on one particular client you would be working on one particular, say, construction project or an airport project, typically seen in those type of companies. So you will be looking at the entire P&L for that particular project, which might be a multi-year project as well. And then finally, which is mid-sized companies. So these are typically smaller companies compared to the green one on the left. So these are typically 500 to 1,000 people. Uh, Finance team is about 10 to 12 people, and then there is just one or two or three people in FP&A, and they get to look at the entire P&L together, meaning they are responsible for FP&A or budget forecast, etc., for the entire P&L. So these are typically the various range of FP&A roles which are most common.
Just to add to this, I think somebody in the chat box did ask a question about client financial management kind of roles. Those could either be specific revenue related roles, or those could be also classified as project related FP&A roles, where you are either handling FP&A or revenue, or I would say client contracts or pricing related to certain, a client or a certain cluster of clients. Yeah. So some companies have this roles like project finance management or cluster finance manager, or those type of roles are available out there as well, which are, I would say, variation of FP&A in some form or the other, but not necessarily they look after the entire mandate of FP&A.
I have a question in the chat box related to the slide. So somebody's asking me, okay, which is the best role or which is the preferred role? So I think it's difficult to choose. Typically, different roles will provide you different experience. And ideally, I mean, if I had to pick one, I would pick something which is business facing. So unless, I mean, if you have a choice between a business facing role versus a offshore role, definitely you should pick a business facing role. But also there are a large number of openings in offshore roles. So if just in case if you're not able to get direct entry in FP&A into a business facing role, it's not a bad idea to work for a couple of years in the offshore or center of excellence, gain some FP&A experience, and then move to a mid-sized company in FP&A role. So that's what I have also done. I worked a couple of years, 2 to 3 years in City Center of Excellence, Citibank Center of Excellence. Then I moved to business-facing roles. So ideally, pick a business-facing role if you have a choice. If not, then probably go for a Center of Excellence role. But make sure you don't stay there for maybe more than 2 or 3 years, gain some experience, and then try and move to a business-facing role, because there is, I mean, that's the place where you will have more interaction, more learning, and more fun uh, compared to the offshore role.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And even my transition has been very similar. So I started with a big company. I've also worked with a center of excellence. And then when I slightly became senior, my need to work with the senior management, or have full control on the P&L, or have a greater visibility of the business, was kind of getting increased every year. And that is when I kind of then pivoted towards working with like a mid-size MNC, although a multinational, but handling a mid-sized geography or a region per se, in a finance lead kind of a role. That has been kind of my transition. But there's no right or wrong. Typically you can start with any role for that matter. Preferably business facing. That will help you, build your business acumen, and then that'll help you feel that your role is more meaningful, rather than just accounting something in the background. Yeah. Fantastic. So I gave you the 3-step FP&A success mantra, right? So first one was org structure, and to understand where you truly fit into the organization structure, because that is also going to determine who your stakeholders are going to be and who will you be working with.
Yeah. I think
And
you you should cover that. I think we did not cover that in detail, I guess.
Which one? Sorry.
The success mantra is coming up next, right? It's the next slide.
No, this is part of the success mantra only.
Okay.
So if we go back to the slide, so we have org structure, stakeholders, and KPIs. So we did cover org structure, which is this slide, and now we are covering stakeholders. So in your typical FP&A role, so you would be interacting with multiple functions like, sales, business development, production, operations, legal, HR, IT. There could be a number of different departments that you will be operating. Typically, you will be collecting a lot of inputs and updates from these departments, and then you are expected to provide a lot of reports and insights to these departments as well. I can give you one example. So once when I was working with a service company, so we did a detailed exercise by collaborating with HR to understand the impact of attrition on the company. Now, typically, when we talk about people attrition, we feel that it's costly, right? It's expensive. People come, people leave, and hopefully, and typically the replacements are at a higher cost or something, or they may involve significant training expenses and getting people up to speed. So what we did was we kind of did a detailed exercise to understand the replacements that have happened over the past 1 year to see, okay, if X person left and he was replaced by Y, then what is it? Has it led to a monetary saving from a pure term, not really from a qualitative standpoint as to how much time did he take to come up to the speed or how much time did we invest in his training? Not from that standpoint, purely from a pay standpoint, has there been a saving or has there been a gain? And to our surprise, we actually had a big chunk of attrition saving in that financial year. Okay. Now, it may not be common, it may not be a regular feature, but in that particular year, we had a lot of attrition saving, which means that typically when a person left in the company, either he was replaced much later, maybe there was a lag of replacing that person, like a 1 or 2 month lag, which also led to saving in that particular financial year, or that person was replaced with a lower designation or a lower pay. Yeah. So then we realized that our company had made significant savings through this attrition. Now, again, mind you, I'm not calculating the qualitative aspects of it. Typically when a new person joins, he would take probably 3 to 6 months to get up to speed. Yeah, I'm not considering all of those things. Purely from a financial standpoint, it appeared that we had made significant savings. So these kind of exercises you are required to regularly execute. Many times I've collaborated with the sales teams to come up with a pricing for a bid or applying for a government tender or a bid. Yeah. So those kind of collaborations I've always done, and you will end up doing these kind of collaborations in your FP&A role, depending on the structure and size of the company that you are operating in. Yeah. Okay, so the next point in the framework was KPIs. That's your key performance indicators. Every company typically has certain KPIs that it monitors, right? Depending on the industry and the complexity that it operates with. So here's a quick discussion. I need some feedback from you guys in the chat box. What do you think? Give me one or two KPIs that an oil and gas company would be tracking. 1 or 2 KPIs that an oil and gas company would be tracking. BizDev is business development, by the way. Somebody had a question in the chat box. Okay, I need some responses in the chat box. What are some of the KPIs that an oil and gas company would be tracking? Okay, sales, revenue, market demand and supply. Okay, forex gain or loss. Okay, capex. Yes, oil and gas industry is a capex heavy industry. Revenue per barrel. Interesting. It's a good point. International markets, oil prices in the international markets, operating expenses, production cost, freight. Yeah. Fantastic. All these answers are right. Government agreements, offtake agreements, operations, safety, which is again a very important aspect in oil and gas industry. Okay. What about software companies? Software services companies, I mean, like a Microsoft, or not really product companies, but more software services companies. What do you think software services companies would be tracking? Like a TCS or an Infosys or an Accenture. What are some of the KPIs that they would be tracking? Headcount, cost per headcount. Okay, interesting. Project cost, time spent by employees on a project, margin per product, cost of software development, licensing, competitors' revenue, Yeah, all interesting comments. Revenue per employee, customer acquisition rate. Yeah, all interesting comments. Okay, so I think we have got enough responses. Okay, so again, there could be, dozens of KPIs that these companies could be tracking, right? Typically, an oil and gas company could be, I've just captured two or three here. So typically, an oil and gas company could be tracking something called as a gross refining margin. Now, this is basically, to put it very simple, in a very simple way, it's your sales price minus your cost of crude oil. That's your gross refining margin. A gross margin, where it's your sales minus all your variable production costs and all of the costs. That's your gross margin, and your gross margin minus your discounts in the market is your net margin. So these kind of metrics could be tracked by an oil and gas company. As opposed to that, a software company would be tracking things like compensation ratio. That's your salary cost or staff cost as a percentage of your sales. Typically, in service companies, the salary cost or the staff cost could range between 30 to 50%. Revenue per headcount, for example, let's say if revenue per headcount for Google is $55,000, as opposed to that, revenue per headcount for Microsoft is $45,000. Yeah. So this is the kind of benchmark that you can track against your competitors and make sure that for every dollar that you're investing in your people, you maximize your revenue as well. Compensation per headcount, it also gives you the kind of level that you are hiring in the company. Like, for example, let's say compensation per headcount for Google is, let's say, $35,000 per annum. As opposed to that, for Microsoft, it is $40,000 per annum. Now you're seeing that, and the average employee pay in Microsoft is much higher than Google in this example. Yeah. So these kind of things you can track. So there could be dozens and dozens of KPIs that your industry could be tracking. If you're an advertising company, they could be tracking different set of KPIs. If you're a hotel, then you could be tracking different set of KPIs. Yeah. So as long as you understand these three elements in the framework, where you fit into the organization structure, okay, who are your key stakeholders, who are your key 4 or 5 people that you will be working with in your role, and what are their reporting requirements, what do they need from you. Yeah. And then the KPIs that the company would follow, which industry it operates in, what are the kind of terminologies that they use, what are the kind of typical metrics that they track. As long as you have a grip over these three things, and try and understand these three things quickly, you will be able to quickly take control of your FP&A role. Yeah. So that's the success mantra framework that I wanted to share. Org structure, stakeholders, and KPIs. Okay. Moving forward. I think we have some comment in the chat box. Yes, there could be revenue generating headcount, there could be back office headcount, and not all headcount would be revenue generating, right? So this is revenue per headcount could be just a general metric to see what would be the total revenue for every dollar invested in people. Now you can split that into revenue generating headcount or billable headcount or non-billable headcount. You can make those deeper analysis as and when you need. If you are typically a CFO, you would want to understand it in a deeper way. Yeah. There's a question. Please explain Center of Excellence. See, Center of Excellence is basically a global shared service center, and some call it Center of Excellence. Like, for example, typically US and European companies have set up their back office functions, outsourced their office functions to low-cost geographies like India, Philippines, Uruguay, Mexico. They have set up their Center of Excellence there. I was also working with a global shared services center of a commodity trading company, yeah, where we were supporting FP&A to stakeholders located in more than 80 different countries. We were a team of 10 people who were supporting business stakeholders who were located in 80 different countries and locations and branches. Yeah, so you could either be at the business level where your FP&A team is sitting at a global shared services. Let's say you could be an FP&A manager in US and your FP&A team and a team of analysts is sitting in Mumbai and you need to coordinate with them. Or it could be the other way around. You could be an FP&A manager in Mumbai working in a shared services of a large company where you are actually supporting a business stakeholder who's based in US or South Africa or wherever the business stakeholder could be located. Yeah. Okay, is CA mandatory for FP&A role? Absolutely no. Chartered accountancy was primarily designed with more from an audit and account and a compliance standpoint. However, with the finance subjects in there, you do have some understanding of finance activities, but it's not mandatory for FP&A role.
In fact, even these days, non-finance people can join FP&A roles. So forget about CA. Even non-finance people have seen people from engineering backgrounds, data science background also get into FP&A. So there's nothing like you need a CA to get into it.
Yeah, yeah. So this one question keeps coming up, how do I look at FP&A job as a beginner? So let me address this first so that, we clear that roadblock and then move into the next sections. See, if you are an accountant trying to move into an FP&A role, or if you are working in audit, tax, or any of the non-finance functions, you're trying to move into an FP&A role. Okay, there are a number of things that you can do. First of all, in your resume, you need to load a lot of analysis heavy elements in there. I'm sure even in your accounting role, you must have done some kind of analysis. Okay. Bring that to the top of your resume. Number one. Number two, also bank on the industry that you work with. For example, if you're working as an accountant in an insurance company, then it's easier to get an FP&A role in an insurance company because at least you understand the industry, at least you understand the terminologies that are used, at least you understand what is a premium, what is reinsurance, what is insurance. You understand a few terminologies at least, right? So these are two of your strongest chances. It's a highlight as much analysis as possible in the first half of your resume. Yeah, and we have a course and we have a recorded videos on that. You can go through those later. And the second thing is bank on the industry understanding. If you worked in a software company, then maybe it's easier to target a FP&A role in a software company for you. Yeah, these are the two things that you can immediately do. Of course, there could be 10 other things which we can take later. Let me stick to the schedule here. Okay, cool. So framework to build your FP&A career. So I gave you a quick framework. That's the FP&A success mantra to kind of take quick control of your FP&A role. Now, once you get into FP&A, how do you build your FP&A career? So now to make it very simple to understand, think about building your FP&A career like building a house. Yeah, every house or every building first needs a solid foundation. That is where your conceptual understanding of FP&A comes into play. Basics like budgeting, forecasting, gross margins, net margins, gross profits, net profits, different types of profitability, all of these things which are largely commercial and common sense based. Yeah, that is where your conceptual understanding comes into play, which is going to be your solid foundation to build your career. On top of that, you need three pillars. One is your soft skills. Like I said, you will always be interacting with multiple cross-functional teams. So it's very important to develop the right set of communication skills, presentation skills, storytelling, coming up with simple analysis and how you communicate that to non-finance teams in a very simple way. That is where your soft skills come into play. The second pillar would be experience. As and when you get senior, your experience in a particular sector or a particular industry is going to come in very handy. Like if you're working with a service company and if you work for like 5-10 years in a service company, then your skill sets are more tuned towards helping service companies. You'll be better off working with a service company rather than reinventing yourself in a manufacturing company. Yeah, so try and build solid industry experience behind you, solid body of work behind you, which will help you in the long run. And the third pillar is tools. Now remember, tools are only an aid and they are not a substitute for your conceptual understanding. Many people ask me that if I learn Power BI, will I be a FP&A professional? No, right? You need to know the FP&A concepts. You need to know the basics of FP&A. And tools are only something which will make you an efficient FP&A professional, a fast FP&A professional, or a better FP&A professional. Yeah. What tool to learn? Should I learn Power BI? Should I learn Tableau? Should I learn XYZ tool? It really depends on your scenario, on your current status. What I would recommend is the simplest thing that you do when it comes to tools is the moment you join a certain company, see what tool they are using. Let's say if you join a company and you notice that they are using Power BI extensively, then it's worth investing some time, maybe 20, 30, 40 hours in learning Power BI. Yeah. However, knowing Power BI is definitely an edge. Okay, or any of those tools are definitely an edge. But even if you invest 40 hours in learning Power BI, you could join a company which doesn't use Power BI at all. That's quite possible. Yeah. So when it comes to tools, see where you are at which stage of your career you are in, and then invest your time in learning that tool. Yeah. Then the next would be that once you've kind of built your foundation and the three strong pillars, then comes your continuous improvement. You always keep getting better, keep looking at new things that are happening in the industry. Then you need to also develop leadership skills, because at some point in time you will move from an FP&A analyst to an FP&A leader or an FP&A team leader or a manager. At that time, you'll have to understand, how do you manage a team of analysts, how do you manage a team of accountants, or how do you manage a team of finance professionals. Yeah. And then adapt yourself. Technology keeps changing, business scenarios keep changing, business models keep changing, right? Some of the traditional business models were not, like 10 years ago, nobody had heard about, platform business models or business models like Uber and Amazon. Probably 10, 15 years ago, nobody had heard about them. So all these new business models are coming into the picture, and it's your duty to kind of adapt yourselves to these new business models and see how they apply in your scenario, how they apply in the company that you are working with. Yeah. So conceptual understanding, there's absolutely no substitute for that. Top of it, soft skills, experience, and tools. And then finally, continuous improvement, continuously leading a certain aspect to gain total control of that FP&A career. Yeah. A simple framework. Cool. Now, how many of you think, now we've covered a lot of ground, we've covered many aspects. How many of you think that there is a lot more to learn about FP&A? Please type a yes in the chat box. Yeah. How many of you think? Yeah. We see a lot of yeses. We see a lot of yeses pouring in. Fantastic. Fantastic. So we tried to cover a lot of ground here within a short span, that is available to us. But there's definitely more to learn in FP&A. Yeah. Asif?
Yeah. And also I know that a lot of you will probably do much better if there is somebody to guide you, coach you along the way rather than you doing it yourself. So how many of you feel that you will take more time, or it'll be a lot more struggle if you do it on your own? Type me in the chat box. Okay. If you feel that if you do this alone versus with somebody who's done it for 10 years, who's coaching you, mentoring you.
A lot of me's coming in. Fantastic. Fantastic. See, Asif and I came together, about 2 years ago, and with a single mission of helping FP&A professionals. Okay. And, that is why, with a lot of, hard work and blood and sweat, with a lot of love and care, what we have come up with is an FP&A masterclass. That's a live coaching program where both Asif and I are going to teach you everything that you need about FP&A, everything essential that is required about FP&A. Yeah. This masterclass covers a lot of things. Yeah. And Asif can elaborate on that. This masterclass covers a lot of things, and over the last 2 years, we have trained more than 200 professionals with this masterclass, and we have got some great feedback. Asif, you want to just touch upon this?
So I don't know where I dropped off. So let me know if I'm repeating something. So to give you a context of the FP&A masterclass, so about 6 to 8 months of research has gone into putting this curriculum together between me and Dhaval. I have written an entire 300-page book while doing this research. The book name is all about FP&A. It's available on Amazon for $5. So a lot of research has gone into this. This research involves not just our experience, mine and Dhaval experience, which is about 20 plus years of experience between the two of us together, which is 5 industries working across in FP&A teams. So it's not just that, but we've also interviewed a lot of experts, and all those interviews are there on YouTube. which you can watch later on. So what I mean to say, a lot of thought, a lot of effort has gone into designing this curriculum. And not just that, up till now, about 200 people have already taken this course, and you've done about six cohorts in the last 1.5 year. And every cohort, we get feedback from these people who take these courses. Some of you are also your, I see some of some familiar names also here in the webinar here. So a lot of feedback came from people who already took the course, say batch one, batch two, batch three, and every time we have improved this a little by little. So what you have right now is a very refined curriculum, which has gone through a lot of research, which has gone through a lot of feedback from hundreds of people. And this is something that you can take benefit of, which I would have, like, if this was there 10 years ago, my FP&A journey, which has taken me probably 8 years to go from an FP&A analyst to a FP&A manager, might have been shorter. I might have done it in maybe 1 or 2 years or 3 years if I had all of these resources with me. So a lot of thought, a lot of research, a lot of feedback has gone into this curriculum. Now, we don't want anybody to enroll in this masterclass. We also want to make sure that you get, I mean, you get the return. We are all finance professionals. We would want to make sure that you get at least 10 times return on whatever you invest in this course or this program. So this is not for everybody. This is for somebody. So I'll give you some examples or some cases where this could be the right fit for you. So if you are preparing for an FP&A interview, if you already decided, okay, I want to make FP&A as my career, you've already decided that it's not something that you're hearing for the first time today, FP&A, right? You already made up your mind, you know what FP&A is, and you know that I need to make a career in FP&A, and you're preparing for FP&A, this curriculum or this program is for you. If you have given FP&A interviews and if you've not been able to crack those interviews because of some reason, it might be because you don't know what FP&A is in and out. So if you were not able to crack FP&A interviews, if you've given FP&A interviews, then also this program is for you. If you are already working in FP&A and if you're very new to your FP&A role, say less than 2 years of experience, I'm sure this will help a lot in your current FP&A role in terms of giving you ideas to implement, giving you a lot of practical things that things that you can implement. So in short, if you are preparing for an FP&A interview, uh, if you are working in FP&A, but you have less than 2-3 years of experience in FP&A, this program is for you. If you're working in, say, some other finance profile, say accounting, tax, or say audit, and you have gotten opportunities in the past, you've gotten interviews in the past, but you did not go for those interviews because you didn't know what FP&A is, or you were not very confident of appearing for those interviews. So ideally, you should take this program, be prepared when the next opportunity comes, because when the next interview, when the next FP&A interview come, it will be in 2 days or it will be in the next 1 week, where you will not have time to prepare yourself. So it's best that you prepare yourself in advance, and then whenever that opportunity or that interview comes, you can then have a much better chance of succeeding at that interview. So yeah, these are few scenarios which are ideal for this program. So what is covered in this masterclass? I think Dhaval
Yeah,
will.
yeah. So what is covered in the FP&A masterclass? So basically, we are covering 4 modules spread across 4 different weeks. That's about 8 sessions. So module one is budgeting and forecasting. All the fundamentals related to FP&A, budgeting, how budgeting is carried out, forecasting, what are the methods of forecasting, all of that is covered in budgeting and forecasting modules. We spend enough time with examples and case studies and group discussions with this. Module two is management reporting and analysis, where we explain what are the different types of management reports available out there, how do you do analysis, variance analysis, profitability analysis, all of that is covered through cases, examples, and discussions. Module 3 is about storytelling and presentations. Now, if you're somebody who's already working in FP&A, how do you better yourself? By better storytelling, by making better presentations to non-finance teams. So storytelling is not just about creating a fancy dashboard and occupying every corner of the slide that with some or the other graph, right? It's about impactful storytelling. How do you bring out the right set of story, right set of insights to communicate to business professionals, that's non-finance professionals? That is what we'll cover here with some examples and certain frameworks. Finance business partnering. The end goal of finance professional is to support the business in a meaningful way. That is where finance business partnering comes into play. Finance business partners is it's not just a role. Some companies have finance business partners as a dedicated role, but every finance professional or every FP&A professional has to be a business partner at some point in time. They need to collaborate with the business at the right time with the right set of insights. And that is what we'll be focusing in module 4 on finance business partnering. So all these 4 modules have a good mix of beginner to intermediate level. If you're somebody who have no to some knowledge of FP&A, then this masterclass is for you. Now, when are we conducting the next batch of masterclass? It starts on 4th of November. That is, I believe, next Saturday. It's at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. IST. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. IST. Okay. So we start the first session on Saturday, 4th of November, and it ends with the last Saturday, Sunday of November. That is, on 26th of November. Yeah. So 2 hours every day for Saturdays and Sundays. Eight sessions is all you need to give to understand a lot about FP&A. Okay. So it's not a few hundred hours that we're asking. All you need to do is give 8 sessions, 16 solid hours to understand more about FP&A and take yourself from beginner to the intermediate level. There are multiple courses available out there on FP&A. None, I would say, there's no degree available as such at this point in time about FP&A that any university or any body provides. There are courses available on FP&A run by individuals. There are courses run by certain bodies called like Association of Finance Professionals. There are certain courses available, and each of these courses could be anywhere in the range of $500 to $2,000 as well. Yeah, so the average would be somewhere between $1,000 to $1,200. Yeah, but whether you need to invest in that kind of a certification, okay, not necessary. We all have not done that, but we still are working in an FP&A roles. It's not a mandatory thing, but however, these courses are good on their own. But whether you need to immediately start with that course may not be necessary. Yeah. So what does FP&A Masterclass provide? 16 hours of live classes worth 60,000 rupees. 15 plus practical case studies and discussions and group discussions that we do carry out there worth 10,000 rupees. FP&A interview preparation secrets. It's a webinar that we had conducted. There are step-by-step guides of how you can prepare for your interview. FP&A interview worth 5,000. FP&A resume guide. How do you structure your FP&A roles to FP&A resume to increase your chances of getting that call for an FP&A role, even if you're not worked in FP&A role before, worth 5,000 rupees. So total value easily worth over $1,000 for this particular program. But we are not charging $1,000 for this. I can guarantee you that this program is worth more than $1,000 and more than value. It's not just a program. We will also give you alumni access. You'll also have access to mastermind sessions. So there are a bunch of bonuses that come along with this particular masterclass as well. First one is the foundations course. Now, once you enroll into the course, within 24 hours, you will get access to the foundations course. Now, foundations course is like a quick 2.5 hour snapshot of what FP&A role is, and that will kind of prepare you for an interview. It may not necessarily prepare you for working in an FP&A role, but it will definitely prepare you for interview and then taking on that FP&A role, or will give you that confidence to take on that FP&A role. Bonus number 2 is your FP&A Power Resume Blueprint, like I mentioned, which is all about building your FP&A resume, strong FP&A resume. Interview Prep Secrets is bonus number 2, again, which has step-by-step guide about what could be the interview questions that will be asked. How do you navigate these questions? How do you answer the question when you are asked that, okay, if I've never worked in FP&A before, what do I need to do? Or how do you transfer your skills from one set of role to carry that skill to an FP&A role? All of those things are actually discussed in this particular video program that we had already done. That's your bonus number 2 that will be provided to you. Bonus number 3 is access to our monthly mastermind calls. Every month, this masterclass is not just the end, right? So we meet once a month. We address all your queries. We address specific questions that you might have. Sometimes we bring in external speakers. Over the last couple of weeks, in a couple of sessions, we had brought in an experienced CFO. We have brought in a FP&A tool demo for you. Like there is a new tool that has come into the market, and see how that tool can specifically help you carry out your budgeting and forecasting activities. There are over 100 tools available now in the market, but we try and bring some demos, we try and bring some latest tools to you. All of these things, you will be connected. We'll all be connected as a community and take the best use of this community by being part of this masterclass. Yeah. Also on the WhatsApp group, we form a community, and on the WhatsApp group, we keep sharing jobs, vacancies in India and in the Middle East. That's what we have been doing. All of these things put together, well worth over $1,000, well worth over $1,000. But we are not asking you to pay $1,000. We are not asking you to pay $1,000, and just don't take our word for it. Look at the dozens and dozens of testimonials that we have got. We have trained more than 200 people to become top-notch FP&A professionals, and we want to continue doing this whenever Asif and I get time. At this point in time, both of us are in a full-time job, and it takes a lot of effort to come together and put a program together like this, with all the case studies and group discussions, and goes a lot of infrastructure behind this as well. So any guesses on today's webinar price? Any guesses on today's special price that Asif and I are going to offer you?
I think let's ask what are people willing to pay? What would you be willingly pay to get into this program?
I would say, between Asif and I, we have more than 2 decades of experience in FP&A across various industries, and we have got some great feedback for this program. So take a wild guess. Put your number in the chat box. Nobody wants to guess? Okay. I guess 200 USD. Okay. Okay. I guess we'll reveal it now. Drum rolls, please.
Somebody saying 5,000 rupees, somebody saying 75,000 rupees. Let's see what it is. So I think we will give what Fernando asked for. I think.
Yeah. So today's special price would be $197 only, and this price is valid only till tomorrow midnight. That's your Sunday midnight, IST. Yeah, Indian Standard Time. So only at $197, and I can guarantee you that there'll be much more value than what you are going to pay. Okay, and we'll all be connected. Till today, most of our alumni group members are connected. They reach out to us with their questions. They reach out to us for jobs, and be part of this amazing community that we have built to learn and progress in your FP&A roles. Yeah, so $197 is all you need to pay for live coaching program plus all the bonuses that we had mentioned. Okay, and the price will available. The fees will be available only till tomorrow midnight IST. Tomorrow midnight IST. Asif, have you shared the link in the chat box?
Yeah, I just put the link. So on the link, you will see $297, which is the sticker price, which is what you pay if you're not part of the webinar, or if you don't enroll like very early, a month or two before the class starts. So go to that link. If you want to enroll, use that coupon code and get that $100 discount that we are offering for this webinar. And yeah, if you don't enroll by end of the day tomorrow, you might have to pay $297 instead of $197. So you'll pay $100 more if you join last minute. And also we have about 25 seats for the batch 7, and about 15 or 16 are already taken. So we only have about 8 to 9 seats. So if those 8 to 9 seats go away before the batch starts, then also you'll have to wait for the next batch, which will happen not this year, it'll happen in 2024.
Somebody had questions about the timing. Yes, the timings are fixed. This is the timing that we have come up with, which suits most of the time zones, because there are people coming from various time zones in the batch. So this is the timing that suits everybody. So we have kept this timing. However, if you happen to miss it for some reason, you will always be providing you the recording. Within 24 to 48 hours, we provide you the recording of those sessions, and you can always go through and catch up. And if you can reach out to us if you have any questions.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think let's now take the questions that we have missed. So I'll just scroll through the questions. So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
let you guys enroll if you want to enroll right now. Take I mean maybe a day if you want to take some time to decide. But bear in mind that there are only 8 to 9 seats for the next batch. So if say those get filled, you will we'll have you for the next batch, which is 2024 batch 8 wait list. Okay, so with that, let's jump into the questions. Let me open the chat box. Uh,
Let me also change the setting to,
yeah, I don't see
yeah.
the chat box. Okay, so we'll go from bottom to top and cover as many questions as we can in the next 15 to 20 minutes. When will the next session happen? So next session is not planned yet, but it will not happen this year for sure. It will be sometime in January or February 2024.
Yeah. The
Uh,
next batch of FP&A masterclass will definitely be in 24. Nothing planned for the end of the year in 2023. So
yes.
batch 7 would be the last that we'll be doing this year.
Somebody asking, I asked, is your book explain about the framework to build FP&A? So yes, the book is a great resource. The book that I've written, it covers a lot of theoretical aspects of FP&A. However, I mean the format of the book is such that it doesn't allow us to have a lot of practical examples which we can show you in the course. So although it has a lot of examples, but I mean the format is restricted to whatever examples it has, and a lot more practical examples and scenarios are covered in the program which are not there in the book.
So
uh,
there's a question on how do we improve data literacy skills. Again, I would say that there are plenty of free videos available on data science. I think you can start with that. That can be a starting point. If you want to go a little bit more advanced, then maybe a couple of courses on data science would not be that bad. Data analytics, maybe not data science, but more of data analytics, I would say. That can be your resource. But again, I would say it's not hard and fast. I mean, you will learn it on the job as well. Okay, but only if you know a few basic terminologies, mean, median, mode, average, standard deviation, correlation, regression. If you know a little bit of data literacy, then that'll be helpful.
I think an introductory course to statistics which might be like 4 5
Yeah,
hours.
yeah, yeah. Yes.
And if you're working in an organization and they are using a particular uh, programming language, say they're using SQL or they're using R or any programming language, Python. So if your organization is using a particular language, you don't have to become expert in that language. You just need to understand the very basics, syntaxes that people use very frequently, so that you can communicate with your data science team or people who are experts in that field. So if you know that okay, my company is using Python or my company is using R or my company is using SQL, then you can take a short course in SQL if your company is using SQL, maybe 2 or 3 hours, where you will understand the basics, and also you don't have to go into very detail because your job is just to communicate with data people and not become a data scientist. How much fees for rest 7 session?
I think there is some confusion. So the
Yeah.
fees of $197 is for all the 8 sessions put together.
Yes.
It's a 4 weeks course. It's an FP&A masterclass. It's a 4 weeks course which has 4 different modules and 8 sessions to be covered, along with cases, group discussions, examples. Um, you know, um, a lot of activities to be done. You'll also be part of our alumni group, which is a WhatsApp group where we all are connected. So all of this combined is for $197. It's not just for any one particular session.
If you see, it's like a lifetime membership you get to us, I mean our community right now, which we
Yeah,
will use it next year. So you may not get that community access for free next year, so we might put a price to it.
yeah.
So I recommend, if you want to join, this might be the best time to get all the, I mean it's like a lifetime access to our monthly calls and monthly catch-ups.
Yeah. So Vakas, I think it changes as per the geography. So 197 is the base price. Sometimes it may take the taxes specific to your geography.
It might be like 5 to 10% based on, your specific regional taxes, your country taxes. Which
So
we
190,
go ahead, Dhaval.
yeah, so there was a question about the price in INR. So 197 usually works out to about 16,100, 16,200 rupees.
Yeah, and when you go on the landing page, you will see two options. In fact, three or four options. One is the USD pricing, one is the INR pricing, and there are installment options as well. But if you go for installments, you'll not be eligible for the discount that you are offering. So the discount is only on the one time payment. And you can go for the INR pricing, which is I think 16,000 some rupees. Sorry, 24,000 some rupees, and you can get the $100 discount on that as well. Okay, let me go to the next question. Let me scroll up.
Yeah, I think there was a question on consulting assignments in FP&A. Somebody happens to be a
Yes.
consultant in FP&A, and uh, their
I think,
question was about how do we kind of get clients in FP&A.
yeah.
You know,
So I think the question was more on somebody who's a consultant in traditional accounting finance roles. How can this help you to? How can this help basically your clients? So see, right now, if you're working with your clients and you're just doing the traditional accounting and compliance, which is probably accounting, audit, taxation, uh, and if you see the need, okay, if this client is growing fast and they need uh, management reporting, they should be doing a budget, because if they do prepare a budget, they'll much likely to grow in terms of their performance next year. So yes, if you think you have clientele which are growing, which are mid-sized clients, which are typically more than 10 crores INR in revenue in India, and maybe I don't know $2 million in the US. If you have those type of clients, definitely those clients will be setting up FP&A teams in the near future. And if you can guide them on FP&A budgeting forecasting, definitely you can be that person who will help them set up FP&A teams. This may not be applicable to very small clients, which maybe say less than 10 crore rupees INR in revenue, or maybe less than $2 million, because those people are more concerned about accounting. I mean, they're more concerned only about compliance versus future performance. Okay.
okay, there's a question on, can you get some training video tools on Anaplan and Hyperion? It's not part of the curriculum, but we will try and bring somebody who's an Anaplan and Hyperion expert in the subsequent sessions, maybe a couple of months later. But having said that, Anaplan itself has its own training videos that they are putting, I believe, on their website, which you can try and go through.
Yeah. So Coursera, which is my organization, they have a course on Anaplan, which you can take. So you can take the course for free. You only have to pay in case you need some advanced features or certification. So if you go on Coursera and search Anaplan, you will see a Anaplan course, which explains more high level of the tool. It doesn't go into very specific details, but it is a good overview.
Okay, so there's a question: how will we get the notification for upcoming scheduled session that you had discussed? So if you are talking about the mastermind sessions, we would be sending an email as well as dropping a note in the WhatsApp group. So that's how it will be communicated.
Yeah.
Fairuz has a question: is storytelling and presentation uh, defined for financial reporting with variance analysis? I'm not sure I understand your question, but if uh, see, financial reporting is something which is more from a statutory standpoint, right? It's something which you need to do as part of communicating with the shareholders. But storytelling and presentation is largely an internal usage where you need to communicate the performance of the business with the business stakeholders. It could be a business lead, or it could be a general manager, or it could be a CEO, or whoever it may be. So that is where kind of storytelling and presentation is, I would say, more useful for an FP&A professional.
There's a question, which tool do you recommend for budgeting? I mean, this is not very straightforward to answer question, especially it'll depend on your organization, your industry. There are industry specific tools. There are tools which are catering to different segments in terms of revenues. So there are like hundreds of options, and you need to evaluate a lot of things before you can decide. So it's not a one answer that we can give. We work with Excel. So there are a lot of tools that supports Excel as well. Like you can work in Excel and then you can use the tool to maintain the consolidation and data. All the data is maintained in the tool and it consolidates and it does all the modeling for you, and you can work in Excel. So there are two different types of tools. One is working with Excel, and then there are other tools which are very specialized in terms of they are standalone tools where you don't need Excel.
There's a question that I'm working as financial controller, but need to understand and get deep knowledge in FP&A. That's right. So finance controller role is primarily focused on the control side of things, right? So basically publishing the financial statements, preparing the notes to accounts, getting the statutory audit done, looking at accounting and monthly books of accounts closure, all of that stuff. But to some extent, I think the work of FP&A starts when where the controller role ends on a monthly basis. That's largely to do with analysis, coming up with certain comparisons between the budget and the forecast and variance analysis. All of those things are part of FP&A roles. At some point in time, you may have to pivot from a controller role to an FP&A role, or at least gain FP&A skills for you to then move from a controller role to a head of finance or a CFO kind of a role. FP&A concepts would be a good supplement for you to progress to your next level.
Okay. Question in the chat box. Please, can you advise if this course of FP&A will help us in the certification from FPAC championed by AFP, recognized in FP&A domain, or can it be added to our resume as a skill set? So right now we don't have any affiliations with AFP. We are trying to get our course recognized in terms of CPA hours from AFP, but right now it's not yet there. So right now you will receive a certification from us, which will be FP&A professionals and trained for COP jointly, and you can put that on your resume, which is a FP&A
Yeah,
master certification. But we do
I
not have
think
association with AFP as of now.
Yeah. So again, FPAC certification from AFP is not a definitive guarantee that it will lead to an FP&A role. So I would suggest that try out FP&A masterclass. It'll definitely open a lot of leads for you. It'll open some doors for you in FP&A. Check it out, and if you still feel that you need to go for FPAC, then you can plan that later on as well.
Yeah, because FPAC is a lot more commitment in terms of both time, effort. It also has an examination. So if you want to go through all of that, then FP&A is also a good certification. You're not saying it's not a good certification. But yeah, you decide, okay, how much time you have, how much investment in terms
Yeah.
of effort you want to make. If you're looking for something which is preparing you for the interview in next 1 month, 2 months, then probably FPSA will take a longer time.
So how we have designed FP&A masterclasses, we have kept very relevant and practical focus on what needs to be done on a daily basis. You complete these 8 sessions with us, and immediately next day you will be able to take up a job in FP&A. So, and this is how we have trained. Like if I have to hire a FP&A analyst today, or Asif has to hire a FP&A analyst today, our thought process started like this. How we created this course was that, okay, if we hire an FP&A professional today or FP&A analyst today who's a fresher, what do we need to train him in? And that's how we started structuring our modules. And we came up with, okay, if we train that person in these 7-8 things, then this person would be ready in a month or so. That's how we started putting our course together.
There's another question. Which professional course is best for FP&A? Is FMBA from CFI a good course? So FMBA is definitely a good course, but it is not focused on FP&A. It is focused on a broader finance analyst role, which includes your investment banking analyst, equity research analyst, valuation
Valuations.
roles. So if budgeting is one small module of 2 hours in the FPA FMBA curriculum. So if you're looking for something which is broader in terms of experience, like you're not very sure that you want to get into FP&A right now, you want to explore different profiles in finance, then probably FMBA is a good option because you will see a lot of different profiles here there. It is not a specific FP&A expertise course, so it has some bits of budgeting in it, which is 2 or 3 hours, but not as extensive as we have in the FP&A masterclass. So yeah, you can decide accordingly if you want to go into a broader course which gives you a lot of things about different roles which we talked about. Then go for FMBA. If you want to focus specifically on FP&A, then you can take up the FP&A masterclass. Okay, did we cover every question, or do you think we missed any?
Try to almost.
What is the difference between finance business partner and business finance? I think we covered this, right?
I covered that. Yeah.
Uh, I think we covered most of it. Just in case if you think we did not cover any of your questions, feel free to
Did we cover the consultant bit?
Yeah, I
I'm
think we
not.
did.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I am going to join the FP&A team in FMCG conglomerate in 2020, FF 2024. Okay. So just want to understand Q1, what are the things I need to focus on more on the next 3 months on the transition uh, to the FP&A job. Question two, what are the things I need to first do in the 6 months of joining? So I think initially you should start with the FP&A, three things that we talked about: understand the organization, how it is structured, understand what are the key KPIs of that particular FMCG company, and who are your key stakeholders. So understand all of these things in the first few months, and then start working and simultaneously start working on building up business knowledge or business acumen for FMCG. No, please go to the top of the chat. How do you craft
Yeah.
in a resume to stand out from the crowd without relevant FP&A experience? Secondly, FP&AC championed by recognized by FP&A. Yeah, I don't understand the second part of the question, so let me answer the first one. How do you craft FP&A resume? So that's what you mentioned, right? Uh, there is a step-by-step recording that we did about few months back, which you can access either as a part of the FP&A masterclass. You get it as a bonus, or you can get it for $10. I think it's $10 or something. You can get it standalone as well, and then go through that recording where we explain to you how to do your resume step by step, or some of the best practices in preparing the FP&A resume. So you can go through that.
I think the second part of the question is about FPSC. I think which we already covered. When and who needs to do FPSC?
Yes. Is reading annual report of company helps in understanding KPIs, business acumen? It definitely does, but it will not be enough. So it will probably be the first step or the starting point. But you also need to understand it will not have a lot of management commentaries or a lot of management
Yeah.
analysis that you can find in if it's a listed company, you will be able to find that on the company website, which will be as a part of their quarterly earnings release and management discussion and analysis. So an annual report is the starting point, but if you want to go deep into the company's business, you should look at their quarterly earnings release, investor presentation, and a lot of analysts also cover these companies. So a lot of analysts also provide research reports. So you can go through those reports as well. Okay, so I think we are on. I mean, we are almost 2 hours. 2 hours in this, and let's see if there are any last questions that you want to take, or else probably we will wrap up for today.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we should wrap up for today. And of course, we are available on LinkedIn. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn, and we would be happy to answer your questions. For all those technical queries, like if your credit card is not working and all of that, feel free to DM us on LinkedIn, and we'll help you out with the enrollment. Um, uh, just a gentle reminder that the early bird price is only valid till tomorrow midnight IST. Okay.
Can you suggest any industry specific magazine? So, I mean, industry specific, it will be different for different industries. So I can suggest a few for my industry, the can for his industry, but it will be different for different industries. So industry specific mean it is different for different industry, right? So if you tell me, okay, tell me two magazines for automobile industry, then we can. How is Magster app? I haven't heard of it. So
Yeah, I have used Maxter. It's an amazing app. Go for it. So Maxter is basically uh, an app which kind of gives you access to all the magazines and newspapers available. At least in India, is it's a great tool. I think the annual subscription is some 3,000 rupees or something, but it gives you access to every magazine available out there.
wow, nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap up for today, and feel free to reach out to us. If you need to reach out to us, let me give you our email addresses. So you can reach out to me at this email address. And LinkedIn as well if you're connected on LinkedIn. All right. Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time and your attention. Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.